Hi there. Today I want to share with you a gentle little story. Early this morning, Jack left their small house to head to work. Before he left, he softly said, "I'll be home late tonight. Go to sleep first if you get tired." But Tien just smiled. She knew. Today wasn't an ordinary day. The sun hadn't fully risen yet. A soft golden light slowly spread across the valley, touching the brown-tiled roof of the small house. The mist was still hanging low, clinging to the tops of the bamboo forest like a shy veil. Dewdrops shimmered on the leaves, catching the morning light like tiny pieces of glass. Jack stepped out of the house, his jacket brushed with the chill of early morning. He pulled the door gently behind him and turned back. On the wooden porch, Tien stood quietly, her hair tied back, her face calm and soft in the pale light of dawn. "I'm heading out," Jack said, his voice low and warm. She nodded with a quiet smile. "Drive carefully, okay?" Jack walked down the small steps. The headlights of his white pickup truck sliced through the mist as it rolled onto the narrow dirt road that led away from their home. Before leaving the gate, he looked back one last time. She was still there, standing still in the quiet morning, like she belonged to that place, like the porch had been built just to hold her silhouette. The truck disappeared behind a bend. The engine's sound faded, and what remained was silence. The silence of hills, the whisper of bamboo leaves, and the soft breath of wind passing through the wooden fence. For a while, Tien stayed on the porch, breathing in the crisp morning air. Then she walked down to the small garden in front of the house. Those flower beds were her favorite place. She and Jack had dug this soil together one spring afternoon, planting the first seeds with tired but happy hands. She knelt down gently, brushing the dew from a budding flower. Every leaf and petal carried a piece of their shared story, something simple but real. As the sun slowly climbed, higher rays of warm light spilled through the bamboo trees, painting the garden gold. She washed her face with cool rainwater stored in a clay jar, then changed into a long white dress. She didn't have to go anywhere today. The world felt like it was holding its breath, waiting with her. She started her daily routine, trimming leaves, turning soil, watering each stem with a small silver watering can. The soft splash of water mixed with the rustle of the wind. Time here didn't follow the world's rush. It flowed at its own gentle pace. From time to time, she glanced toward the dirt road where Jack would return tonight. Even in the brightness of morning, she already missed him, not a heavy, aching kind of missing, but the kind that sits quietly in your chest, warm and steady. She could still see his face from that morning, the look in his eyes when he said, "I'll be home late tonight." A simple sentence, but she carried it with her like a quiet promise. Outside, the sky was bright and blue, the kind of clear that only exists in places far from the city. Sunlight sparkled on the roof, danced on the grass, and mixed with the earthy scent of wet soil. Tien closed her eyes for a moment, letting the breeze pass over her face. She whispered to herself, "Just come home safe, Jack." Time moved gently toward noon. The sunlight grew warmer, and the garden glowed a deep green. Somewhere beyond the bamboo, cicadas began to sing. She went inside, poured herself a cup of water, and gathered the small lanterns and flowers she'd hang on the porch later. She wanted their home to glow softly tonight, so that when Jack returned, the first thing he would see wasn't the dark outline of the forest, but a warm golden light waiting for him. She remembered stories Mother Loy used to tell her, how in the old days, women would stand by the porch on full moon nights, waiting for someone they loved. Waiting not with anxiety, but with love that stretched quietly through the night. By late afternoon, the light began to turn honey gold. She tied her hair up again and changed into a softer flowing dress. It wasn't a special occasion to anyone else, but to her, tonight mattered. Tien stepped outside. Her fingers slid along the wooden fence Jack had built with his own hands. Memories flickered like little lanterns, days when they stood together on bare soil, dreaming of a life they now shared. The sky turned amber. She hung a few lanterns along the porch one by one. Their warm light bloomed softly like little promises. "Jack," she whispered into the wind, "I'll be here." Night was coming. The first edge of the full moon began to rise behind the bamboo. And though it was still quiet, something in her chest already stirred like a small wave rolling gently toward the shore. The sun slipped behind the hill, and the full moon rose quietly from the other side of the bamboo forest. Its light was soft and round, spreading like a silver river over the roof, the fence, and the small garden. The lanterns that Tien had hung earlier began to glow warmly against the night air, blending with the moonlight. The world felt hushed and still, as if holding its breath. She sat on the porch steps, hugging her knees, looking up at the sky. The moonlight reflected in her eyes, making them glimmer like water. A whole day had passed without Jack by her side, but every moment had carried his presence. Inside the house, she took the small bamboo tray she had prepared. On it sat a single candle, a glass of water, and a white flower she had picked that morning. It wasn't a grand altar or a complicated ritual, just something simple, sincere, like the way she loved him. When she stepped back outside, the moon had climbed higher, its light falling across the wooden porch and down to the garden. The night breeze was cool and gentle. Her footsteps were soft against the wooden floorboards. She set the tray on the porch and pressed her hands together in front of her chest, not because she had to, but because that was how her heart wanted to speak. In that stillness, she whispered a quiet prayer only the night could hear. "Just come home safe. That's all I need." The candle flickered as if it heard her. The warm light brushed her cheeks, soft as silk. Each breath she took felt lighter, like all her thoughts and feelings had melted into the night. She remembered the sound of his voice in the morning, steady, familiar. "I'll be home late." A simple line, but to her it was a promise, not a grand one, just real. Tien walked down to the edge of the garden. Under the moon, the rows of green vegetables looked almost silver. The flowers she had watered that morning swayed in the night breeze. Standing there, surrounded by the quiet of the hills, she felt small, but not alone. The sound of crickets filled the night. The bamboo trees whispered to each other in the wind. Everything around her felt alive, listening, waiting with her. Her shadow stretched long across the dirt road cast by the moonlight. "Jack, it's late already," she whispered softly, as if her words could travel through the night to where he was driving home. Time moved slowly. She sat back on the porch again, her eyes fixed on the flickering flame. Every time the wind passed, the light wavered like her heartbeat, steady but alive. She remembered the old days when they both lived in the city. How every night was a rush, how waiting was a weight on her chest. But here in the hills, waiting no longer hurt. It was gentle. She didn't need to know where he was, only that at the end of this road he would return. Then a faint sound. At first it was distant, blending into the wind. But then it grew clearer. A soft hum of an engine winding through the night. Her heart skipped a beat. She stood up, facing the road. A streak of light broke the darkness. Headlights. Warmth flooded her chest. Not excitement that bursts and fades, but something deep and steady. Every minute she'd spent waiting had led to this moment, the moment of light returning home. The white pickup truck appeared, rolling slowly down the dirt path, wheels crunching softly on gravel. The headlights met the moonlight, and for a second, it looked like the night itself opened a door just for him. The truck stopped in front of the house. She was already there, standing beneath the lanterns in her white dress, her hair tousled slightly by the breeze. Jack stepped out. The scent of the road still clung to him. His eyes met hers, and suddenly the whole day, every silent hour, every breath she'd taken, felt worth it. "You're still awake?" he asked, his voice soft. "I was waiting," she replied with a small smile. 3 simple words, but they carried the weight of all the quiet love she had poured into this night. Jack glanced around. The porch lights, the flower beds, the glowing lanterns, and her standing there waiting. He walked toward her and gently took her hand. It was cool from the night air, but his grip was warm. Neither of them said anything more. They didn't need to. The moon had already said everything. They sat together on the porch next to the small bamboo tray. The candle was still burning, its warm light mixing with the moon's silver glow. Jack poured a small sip of water and handed it to her. The simplest gesture, yet it carried the quiet intimacy of 2 people who understand each other without words. She rested her head on his shoulder. The forest whispered softly in the background. The moonlight wrapped around them like a thin blanket, gentle and silent. "I'm home," Jack murmured. "I know," she answered, almost like a sigh. Their Karwa Chauth night wasn't filled with grand rituals or loud celebrations. It was just a soft porch, a small light, a full moon, and 2 people who loved each other in silence. And for Tien, that was enough. Because the most beautiful part of waiting is the moment they finally return.